Welcome to LPGS Sixth Form's International Women's Day Virtual Assembly. I'm going to hand over to Emily now. Thank you very much.
Monday the 8th of March was International Women's Day, and we celebrate International Women's Day on the 8th of March every year. March is also Women's History Month, which is celebrated every year. Why do we celebrate International Women's Day? So, International Women's Day is a celebration of the social, economic, cultural and political achievements of women all across the globe. The day is dedicated to encouraging actions on issues of gender equality, and it aims to empower women and girls all around the world to break stereotypes and strive to reach their potential. We do not have gender equality yet in the world, and so obviously we should be encouraging that and actioning that in everything we do. What is feminism? So feminism is the advocacy of women's rights on the ground of equality of the sexes. So if you believe in equal rights, regardless of sex and gender, you're a feminist. I think there's a lot of misconceptions around feminism and who feminists are. Feminists don't hate men. That is a very big kind of myth and stereotype. And men can also be feminists. If you identify as male and you believe in equal rights, regardless of sex and gender, hopefully everyone is a feminist. Okay. Did you know that globally women only make up about 20% of people in national parliaments? So if we were an equal world, that would be a lot nearer 50. 1 in 3 women will experience violence within their lifetime. This could be any kind of violence, but 1 in 3, that is a ridiculous amount. 52.1% of the workers who were furloughed in the UK in 2020, so last year, during the pandemic, were women. Now, yeah, that is near 50%, but it is still more. Women will see long-lasting impacts of the pandemic at a disproportionate rate to men. So these could be economic effects because of furlough. Many women lost their jobs, much more than men. And also, with childcare provisions not being open, such as schools, many women had to take on the role of homeschooling in many more cases than men. That was not always the case, of course, but it was a disproportionate rate. At current rate, it will take at least another 100 years until the pay gap between men and women is closed in the UK. But because of the pandemic, again, this is likely to grow. So with that, 100 years, most of us, well, we probably won't see that. Our children will be if we have children, our children will be very old when they possibly see that, and that's if the pandemic doesn't affect it too drastically. And only 35% of STEM students in higher education in the UK are women, and I know there's a big push in schools, colleges, universities across the country to get more women into STEM. So every International Women's Day we have a different theme. This year the theme is Choose to Challenge. You may have seen this on Instagram and other social medias. A lot of celebrities were posting about it. So the theme Choose to Challenge essentially is about choosing to challenge all the gender bias and all the inequalities that you come across in your day-to-day life. We're all responsible for our own thoughts and actions every minute, every day. If you choose to say something, that was your choice. And we can choose to seek out and celebrate women's achievements and successes. And we can choose not to pit women against women and classmates against classmates. This is especially important within school. We need to support and uplift each other, especially at the moment. And we've got to challenge those what are seen as jokes or gender stereotypes, because it's not a joke anymore. It never was. It's also important that we educate ourselves on how to challenge gender equality. So there's books, loads of which are in the library. We have an Empowering Women section. You can find loads of articles and podcasts, and I'm sure that loads of people will have recommendations. So just ask your teachers or ask Emily FemSoc on Instagram. We have loads of recommendations. So some of our Year 8 students have shown a lot of initiative in talking about global inequalities and issues which affect society today. So period poverty is something that they've been focusing on. And so for those of you who don't know, period poverty is when people who menstruate or have periods are unable to access sanitary products, or they have a poor knowledge of menstruation due to their financial situation. And it is estimated that over 137,000 children across the UK have missed school days due to period poverty. 1 in 10 girls in the UK can't afford to buy menstrual products. Charities like ActionAid work with people in order to help with their periods, make it safer and easier, but there is still not enough being done. And these issues are not far away. I think a lot of people, when they think of period poverty, they think of countries in more disadvantaged situations, less developed countries. But there are people in our communities, in our school, who struggle with period poverty, and we need to normalise talking about periods and also talking about the struggles that come with that. And we also need to remember that not all girls and women get periods, and not everyone that gets a period is a girl or a woman. We need to change the language around that conversation. So if you've been interested in some of the things I've been saying and you think you're a feminist and you want to do more, be more involved in learning about women's issues within the school and more about gender equality, then of course join Feminist Society. You guys have heard me talk about this before most likely, but in case you haven't, it's a discussion and debate group. We talk about current affairs in relation to gender, and the society is a really safe space for you to share your opinions, and you can also run your own session if you're interested. Last week, a student in Year 9 ran a session all about period poverty and the tampon tax, and we've also had sessions about gender in literature, in film, how things are presented, and it's very interesting discussions. So all students and staff are welcome, and there's no obligation to come every week. We know being in sixth form, there are lots of commitments, lots of exams and things like that. So I completely understand not having the time every week. Now, sadly, this cannot be taking place in a classroom at the moment because of bubbles, but every Thursday at 5 p.m, which gives you the time to get home, we have it on Microsoft Teams. So all you need to do, if you do want to get involved, drop me an email. My email's on the slide, but either ask your form tutor if you're not sure or ask your head of year. And you can also message the Instagram, which is at Emily FemSoc. I would say, especially if you are in Year 12, we don't have a lot of Year 12s who are involved at the moment. This is an amazing thing that you can put on your university application and your CV. You may think, oh, but it's just a discussion group. But the amount of courses in which you're going to have to discuss and debate, this really helped me with my offers, and I did get one of them lowered just for this reason. So I definitely would recommend, if you can, get involved. And there are some comments on the screen of what some of our students who are involved, a Year 7 and a Year 11, have said. So on the screen you can see some incredible and inspiring people that the Feminist Society feel you should learn about. And some of these maybe you haven't heard about before, in the same way that we do hear about inspiring feminists all the time. So there's a variety of people up there. We've got Dina Asher-Smith, who obviously is a sports person. We've got Jocelyn Bell Burnell, who's a woman in STEM. And then we've got some political figures such as Kamala Harris. I'll let you read through in your own time, but I think it's particularly important to point out both Isra Hirisi and Lola Odolola. Both of these girls are, well, Isra is just 18, and I believe Lola is coming up to 18, but they were both under 18 when they started their activism and when they started to do what has made them so inspirational. And I think that is really important to look at, because they're both in such amazing places now and they're the same age as us. So you can still make a difference and a change. And then we have another slide of some more incredible people that you definitely need to learn about. And they come from a variety of professions. Obviously, you would have heard about some of these more than others. So, for example, Emma Watson, Malala, Greta Thunberg, you'll hear about them a lot more. But definitely do take notice of the women and the people here who maybe we don't hear as much about, such as Blair Amani, who is an incredible queer Black Muslim author and historian, and she's always addressing issues of discrimination. So definitely look into these women and these people that we're seeing here, because I think if you can all learn about one of them, it would just be incredible to see. And of course, if you have any other inspiring people, please send them to me on the Instagram, and we're making a bit of a collated album at the moment, which is going to go onto a display board. So I'll leave them up, but thank you so much for listening. And I hope that you all managed to celebrate International Women's Day in whatever way you possibly could. For the rest of March, there are still loads of virtual events online. So if you haven't been able to maybe attend any yet, please try your best to get to some. There are so many which are aimed at all students, not just girls, all students aged 16 to 18. And it would be so incredible to hear about any of those that you get the chance to do. So thank you for listening, and I hope you had a lovely International Women's Day.
A huge thank you to Emily for our LPGS International Women's Day Assembly. I just wanted to add that this is an example of the display that we'd like to put together to celebrate and commemorate as many women as we possibly can for this day. I'll be sending out an email to all students with a PowerPoint that can be edited. I'd love for you to choose some of the suggestions that Emily and the FemSoc have made, and I look forward to seeing what LPGS can come up with in a creative way. Thank you. Have a fantastic day. Goodbye.